Why is it that you don't believe that you're worthy of love, of receiving the highest form of love on this earth? Why is it that you constantly believe that love is hard, that it involves your crying, it involves your misery, that there is no good love where you have not suffered? Why? Hi there, if you're new here, my name is Felicity, and I help ambitious women who constantly shrink themselves to show up authentically and live their dream lives. If that sounds like content you're into, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Let's get into the video. On today's episode, we are going to cover the 7 lessons that I have brutally learned from the world, because I have beaten dust in this sector. If there's someone who has beaten a lot of dust, eaten, covered with dust, it is I. Today's video is inspired by a recent post that I made that is actually doing pretty well on my Instagram. You should go and check my Instagram. I remember as I was writing that post, each of these lessons, I will tell you, come from a personal point of view. I came from an absolute people pleaser who would shrink, who would perform, and who would utterly disrespect herself simply to have someone, to a person who is clearly a no-nonsense girl. If you've known me, or if you even heard of me, I am completely no nonsense. I run the strictest program I have ever seen, because my life is serious, and if you want to be in it, you ought to come with the seriousness it deserves. So these are the 7 lessons that for me have transformed my relationships entirely. I'm not gonna be in the riffraff. Let's just hop into lesson number 1. Yes, I am reading directly from the post. So the first point that I shared was, you don't attract what you are. All types of men can be attracted to you. It is those that you choose to keep that reveal what level of worth you've placed on yourself. And I really like this point because it is so famous. People say, like, you attract what you are, you attract what you are. But walk with me. If we consider men to be dogs, arguable. If you put a piece of meat that is 4 days old, like bad meat, that hasn't been kept in good condition, if you just throw it before dogs, all dogs might actually come and sniff there. Some of them might eat it. If you throw a fresh piece of meat, every type of dog will be there. Your Bosco will be there, your German Shepherd will be there. I don't know types of dogs, but they will all be there. So it doesn't really matter what type of meat it is. You see, I think it has been pushed on women that you attract who you are as a way to really close us into performance so that we can perform for the male attention. I'm telling you this, you're a woman, you have something they want, they will be there. It's as simple as that. Men can be attracted to absolutely anyone. It is the people that you choose, or the men that you choose to keep close to you, that really speaks to who you are. I'll give you a very good example. On my first relationship, I stayed with someone who could not control their anger issues. The minute he was angry, that was the end of consideration. I did not matter, my feelings did not matter, whatever he said out of his mouth did not matter. And I stomached it. When I look closely at the belief systems that I had at that time, I genuinely believed that love was work. It is what I saw where I came from, and I knew that love is work. It takes 2 people who are ready to work. And one thing about me, if you're a Capricorn, you know you want to make things work. It will work. The scenario where things don't work out is so hard for you to understand. So for me, I really wanted to make things work. But you see, you don't want to make things work from a point of, oh, I really love this person. It has nothing to do with that love. You have believed that love is quite hard to earn, and it requires performance in the form of shrinking yourself, shrinking what you deserve, compromising on your values. Someone who is screaming at you, cursing words that even you would not say even if someone did you worse. That cannot be love. If you know that you're in a situation, or you've been in a situation where you accepted less than what you knew you deserved, you need to sit down and do the inner work to establish why is it that you had those beliefs. So the first lesson that I learned genuinely is that, no, you do not attract who you are. I will die on that hill. Go and argue with a wall. Thank you. The second lesson is that You do not need to come off the top shelf. I usually think about it like in a supermarket. If you walk to a supermarket and you want like, I don't know, a big roll of tissue that's on like another level, you don't ask the tissue to come down. You know, you get someone who's taller. See what I did there? You get someone who's taller to go and get it, right? So it doesn't make any sense if you feel that your standards are too high for you to lower your standards and settle for what is less than. At the end of the day, if you look closely at that, for me, it was coming from a point of I did not believe that what I wanted existed. And so I had to lower myself. I had to mold my standards to fit something else that society thinks is possible. Those types of people exist. If you can imagine it, then it exists. That's on period. Everybody else will tell you what is true. You know, someone will tell you what is possible based on their own projected limitations. Someone who's telling you that is not possible is because they know they've settled for less. You've ever been a friend with people who are in horrible relationships? You'll come there and say, oh, he lied to me, but they're putting up with being beaten. They don't understand you. People can only meet you as far as they've met themselves. Do not come off the top shelf because of societal pressure that it doesn't exist. If you believe that God is good and he only gives good gifts to his children, why do you think that he would give you less than? If your child wanted a blue bike, would you bring a pink one? No, thank you. You would get him a blue bike. You need to trust in God's providence, not even in yourself, in your beauty. And that's the problem. You're trusting in yourself. And you don't think you can pull that type of person, but God can create that type of person. And he can make you into the person that that person wants. So no, do not come off the top shelf. The third thing that I learned, listen here. The question, where can I find a good man, is a question that expresses the scarcity within your belief system. You will never, ever get what you already believe to be in constant lack of. I've had so many people, including my friends, ask me things like, oh, where can I find a good man? Oh, where are you people finding this good men? A question that I would always get was that, like, where did you two meet? Where do people meet, like, men of substance? Because you think they're closed in a cage somewhere in a long away forest that you need to go and find. Why is it that you believe that they are scarce? If you believe that you're in constant lack of something, how can you have it? I've talked about this in this channel. You cannot have what you constantly believe to be in lack of. You're a person who does not have it, so how can you have it? Are we together? There are so many people on this planet. There are so many men on this planet. Why is it that you think yours is so hard to find? You need to work on your mindset. Because if you approach with a certain lack, men are very selfish creatures and they can smell desperation from afar. If you come off with that type of desperation of, I really hope I get a good man here, look at yourself. You should hope you find a good bag there, some good heels. A man? Really? Take that thing off the pedestal and realize that God is a God of more than enough. That lack that you have is not of God. So check it and find out why. The fourth lesson, healing is your responsibility. You're not clingy, you're not independent, you're not a lover girl. You just have an attachment style that you've refused to work on. That is why you keep attracting the same man in different shades, sizes, and fonts. Yes, I have been the biggest beneficiary of this lesson. If you're anything like me, a Capricorn, as I explained before, you know that masculinity is such an avid trait of ours. Society in itself is competitive in nature. And for me, a person who is in the legal field, you have to be extremely competitive. When I think of myself as a person who goes to work and is going to toil and is going to do the work and is such a boss, and is constantly, okay, for a majority part of the time is exuding a lot of masculine traits, I don't want to go home and become a man. So at the end of the day, I still want a masculine man so that I can exist in my feminine. The difference was I kept constantly attracting feminine men. And I kept saying, it's just them, they're just attracted to me. No, there's something that they're attracted to in you. And for me, it was control. I have spoken about this on my TikTok, and I remember women were almost fighting me to the ground on this. You're not attracted to feminine men. You just like predictability and control. You cannot release control because someone somewhere, you could not trust a caregiver with your life. You could not trust a caregiver. They left you somewhere. They were not reliable. They never showed up. You want to have that control because you cannot trust another person. All these traits that we keep on saying, I'm clingy, I'm independent, I'm masculine, this is who I am, those are traits that are denying you the opportunity to live in your truest desires. For as long as I wanted to exercise that control, that masculine control within a relationship, I would be attracting feminine men who would not allow me to stay within my feminine inner relationship. It was wrong. You need to surrender that trauma and that hurting to God. Let Him work through it and heal from that. Otherwise, you'll keep seeing the same person over and over and over again. That is why even your life is boring, because you keep reading the same story, and it's always ending in you crying. Can you do something about it? Thank you. The fifth thing, most of the misery that you're enduring in relationships is because you believe that you deserve nothing good in this life unless you prove yourself to be worthy. For this one, I would have to take a breather, because at first instance, when you heard me say that, I know for sure you thought, how could I believe that I deserve misery? No, I would never do that to myself. But when you look at your choices, and if your patterns are leading towards misery, it means that your choices are forming a pattern that is leading you to misery, so you keep choosing misery. You have to see it slowly. As a child who was fit in a box that I had to play, a role that I've always had to play all my life, I found myself also finding which role I had to play in relationships to make it work. I kept staying because I just believed that I had to work so hard to get something. I have gotten a lot of things through a lot of struggle. I could not comprehend a situation where love is easy, where love does not need me to perform for me to deserve it. And so I kept performing. And what you do not see is that it constantly reinforces that you deserve misery. That's why misery keeps showing up in your relationships. And it is not until you say, no, I do not deserve misery. I deserve better. I want better. And I will go for better, that you will free yourself from that. Number 6, I like this one. Yes, he knew what he was doing, but so did you. You knew you wanted more, you deserved better, but you chose comfort over growth and self-respect. Let that sink in. For women, every single time that we talk about relationships, it's always about blaming the other gender. Oh, men are like this. Oh, men are like... And yes, let them have it. Every single time that we remove the focus from us and we focus on them, we keep reinforcing that we have no control over what our relationships looks like. And that helplessness is what keeps rolling us back into the patterns that we were in before. You need to have a little bit of courage to throw the lens in your direction and ask yourself, what am I doing wrong? As much as he constantly lied to you, you constantly believed the lies. As much as he kept cheating on you, you also kept staying with the person who was cheating on you. As much as he kept verbally abusing you, you also kept staying with the person who verbally abused you over and over and over again. For a relationship, I usually feel like if someone assaults me, hits me the first time, that's assault. Even in law, that's assault. But someone who's beating you, that's abuse. Abuse takes two parties. It takes someone who believes that the only way to exert control is by beating someone, degrading them, and it takes the other party who believes that they deserve that abuse. I just want you to believe that you have a side of the story and you can't control his side of the story, so let him just live as you have left. Let him just live his life. What you have control over is your life. So how can I protect me? How can I live better? How can I live as a person who believes that they deserve the best? For me, it looked like me not giving people more chances than I already have. We need to look at the roles that we play in the patterns that we have formed. And it's only until you catch yourself, why is it that I keep forgiving this? Because it is harder for me to grow out of it. Heart breaks heart. They're broken. In fact, it should be written heartbreak with the H-U-R-T. They hurt. But I would rather go through that hurting and find myself than stay here and keep abusing myself. You should do the same. The 7th one is that God only gives good gifts. that addeth no sorrow. So if you're weeping daily, don't pray about it. He knows and you know. Trust in him and leave. I remember a time when I had prayed about a certain relationship and I was like, God, is this a relationship for you? Because I had just learned that, people pray for their partners and they're like, oh God, is this a relationship? And God told me no. He said flat out no. And I remember saying, you see, this is your problem, God. You don't give people chances. Don't judge a person. You don't give people chances. And I remember when it all came crumbling down, I didn't even pray about it, by the way. I didn't. I remember just telling myself, yeah, God already told me. I know. He knows. I know. You know you're doing something wrong. You know you're in the wrong thing. You know you deserve better. I genuinely believe in the character of God. He has never given a bad gift to someone. His blessings, if you want a test for, is this a relationship I should be in, just ask that. Is this a blessing that addeth no sorrow? He didn't even call it perfect. He just said doesn't add any sorrow. You're constantly weeping that relationship. He has turned you into a professional mourner, the ones people hire for burials. But you keep saying, I don't know if this is the right relationship. You know. Why is it that you cannot trust God? God is a good father. He only gives good gifts. So if you're constantly weeping, that's not the right relationship. You do not need to stay in that. You do not need to constantly keep degrading yourself. Leave that relationship. Work on yourself. Have a happy relationship with yourself. I promise you, that will give you more happiness than that relationship ever will. If there's any happiness you're getting at all. So with those 7 points, we have reached the end of this video. I have enjoyed making this video. It was a very personal one. If you would like me to share any more lessons that I have gotten, just let me know down in the comments. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. I have enjoyed, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.